Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wisemee workshop. My name is Daniel. I'm one of the co-founders of Wisemee, and together with me is David Miles, the other co-founder of Wisemee. If you don't know what Wisemee is, it's a model United Nations and other critical thinking skills website. Our articles were written by a team who have over 500 MUN conferences between them. And we have articles for delegates, for chairs, for teachers, for secretariat, and a whole bunch of other useful resources. And that's what we're going to focus on talking about today. So, David, let's take it off. Talk about, MUN life, the new era of global MUN that we're
the new era. I love the new era of MUN. It's really changing the world as we know it when it comes to the MUN world. And I'd like to say, just to continue on with Wisemee, we started Wisemee way before this new era started, and it's all pushing towards that of adopting technology. It kind of forced us to do so, forced everything in the world. But
it's like you write a draft resolution on the cloud. Once upon a time, people would like pass flash drives to each other, or even use paper.
Oh, crazy, no, paper. Right?
All right, so let's jump into it. So for MUN, I think like most of our audience, both David and I, we love MUN. We were active as delegates, chairs, secretariat before we got into Wisemee, and try and take the knowledge of ourselves and our friends and put it online for more people who have gone through a similar journey to ours. And that's was really our goal, was to give back to the community and the world that gave us so much, an activity that really helped, define, who we are and give us skills that we use in different things that we do. So, so David, online MUN during global change and how MUN is adapted. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a great transition into MUN as a whole, and everything else that we've been really doing in the world for the last, I guess, few years. Is MUN is all, when I remember the first time I taught MUN in college, I used to turn around and say, I'm not here to really teach you politics. I'm here to teach you how to win friends and influence people. If you get that, then everything else kind of falls into play. And the way we win friends and influence people in the last 2 years due to global events has changed. It's changed because we're now utilizing technology a lot more. When I'm talking with you on a video call, that's one thing, but I could be chatting with 3 other people as well simultaneously at that exact same moment, and you wouldn't really know about it. So how do we keep that?
I mean, I would if you started zoning out.
Yeah. How do we keep that connection? And how do we also adapt our communication, our tone of voice? Heck, I needed to, instead of just working on my voice itself, I needed to make sure my mic was set up, that my camera works, that my internet.
You got a pretty serious microphone over there.
Yeah, I do, because my internet's all connected, because it all goes back to the plain, core principles of MUN is how do people communicate. When we communicate with those 3 different ways, if it's, are the words we say, the tone we use to say it, and our body language. That's why even while I'm on video and I'm sitting down, I'll move around, I'll use my hands a little bit, and also change my tone. But if I have a bad mic, or my camera doesn't work, it doesn't matter how much I move, it doesn't matter how much I speak or change my tone, because people won't hear me crisp. So it forced us to take one step back and say, what are those other prerequisites that we need in order to achieve success in MUN and in life as a whole? It's no longer just coming in dressed as in a suit. In some ways, decorum, is also the technology that you're using.
To jump on the technology answer, if you remember in the beginning with online MUN, we got a lot of requests for like, how do we run online conferences? How do we do other things? And we came up with an article which got quite a lot of traction, which is online MUN hardware setup. If you remember that, I'm gonna share this with our this was one of our main articles for online MUN during COVID. And you can see we have our CLIMB checklist, which stands for camera, lighting, internet, microphone, and background. So if you're going to do MUN online, you need to know all of these things. And I would give workshops about like online through Zoom on how MUN worked. And I would point out to people like, look, the wall behind you is too white, you're burnt out. Your microphone is, hanging off your face. Make your bed, things like that. It's really amazing to see how, camera, lighting was a big deal, like down light versus front light. We were teaching students how to make sure like the ceiling light above us, like right now, both David and myself, like I have a microphone right here, right off screen. David has a large microphone, which
I think we're using the same microphone.
Yeah, but it's a calculation because we have all this dead space because microphones and it's all rectangular. So here for me, like I took it into account. I have white background. I have lights coming on my face, shadows over my eyes. But this is something you don't obviously know. But people react to you that way. When they can't see you, when you look terrible, not because you're your fault. We all look nice, hopefully, but with like the light coming from above us, it's not meant for video conversation. And teaching people to use something as basic as a desk lamp to bounce off the wall or shine on their face makes all the difference. And you have your different types of light, like we know ring lights are on cell phones. We need to bring that to our video conferencing and to MUN online. Go to the room in your house with the best internet connection. You remember that? We had all of these these delegates who are like, in the far corner using their phones for hotspots. Like all these logistics, they all come into account. Setting up a microphone, there's this famous BBC video, remember, like his kids walk in the middle. This was the example we gave. And afterwards, he's moving his kid, and the babysitter comes to grab her away.
But it's like the point,
other kids come out and remember that part.
The big point here is
anyway, you get the idea. So yeah, if you remember the whole process that we went through with this, with all these conferences which we're choosing, like they're either going to close down, like not happen, and there's some really big prestigious conferences decided not to happen, but others moved to online and they had to adapt rules of procedure for online. And that's actually one more thing I want to touch on before we get to our next topic, which is the new generation of students and delegates in high school, middle school, and university who learned MUN through online, who had to adapt to note passing and unmods through breakout rooms. And this is not 10 people. This is not 100. This is not 1,000. This isn't 10,000 who were introduced to this activity with a different type of norm. It's really, really crazy.
Yeah, no, the scale has gone tenfold, or maybe even 100-fold, because MUN became a lot more, how can I say it, flat or global, without the need of hopping on an airplane to go to a conference or take a bus or drive somewhere, even if it was in the same country. And we saw that when we were running Wisemee, the demand shooting skyrocket. And I love the article that you just showed that we wrote. I remember that writing and investing time into that guide, and we give it away for free. And there's such demand. Each and every day we get emails thanking us for it, for all of the guides and efforts that we put, that we put up for the MUN community, and the demand for education is out there. MUN is no longer, at least to learn the basis, you don't need to go to college or university to join a team in order to understand the constructs. Because that's, I don't know if you remember, but that's how I did it. There was no guide to give me, you even, I remember this, in the first few years of you being in, participating in MUN, you told me, hey, David, you got to show up. This is the MUN thing. Here's a guide, read it and show up, you'll figure it out there. But nowadays there's so many pieces of information that I could have I could have read and consumed to better understand and better prepare myself for that, and even come with a strategic plan, which we all know that on paper strategy, is one thing, while in person, it's a whole different ballpark.
Mob UN strategy is different strategy from every other activity. And this is also something that I tell students is like, listen, as long as you get the votes, this is why you can't be a jerk in MUN. You have to be nice, because if you talk down to other people, if you're not really willing to cooperate and engage, they won't vote for you. And
that's right.
The less they're going to vote. Flip side, how you get the vote, whether you have a coalition that merges or you give them chocolate during the break, like if it works, it works. And this is where, like, also when you are negotiating, what's interesting is this, actually, I want to bring a small point. A lot of the place where making friends and influencing people in regular MUN, in-person MUN, is in the spaces in between, like walking into the opening ceremony, walking out of the opening ceremony, in the lunch line, a whole bunch of different places like that. And in online MUN, we had to sort of see where that same space between spaces was. And it was interesting to see that it turned out to be in the breaks. People spent a lot of time together during the lunch breaks, the food breaks, working on their resolutions, just like they would an in-person MUN. And for a number of online conferences, I've seen post-conference hangouts. Like someone bust out a guitar, people from 5 different countries, and decide to sing along, which on the one hand is challenging and has a lag. So you watch people singing out of sync. But on the other hand, you have a bunch of participants who are having fun together. We're choosing to hang out after 8 hours of MUN, and they're still hang out for another hour and a half with friends they made online from countries they would probably not MUN in. MUN flying, like there's certain teams who fly and many who don't, who stay regional, and here they're making friends from other countries. Really like inspiring and exciting to watch them trying to sing to Green Day or listening to somebody share a story.
Those are always great, which kind of connects the dots right back to where we were talking about beforehand. Is we are all humans. We're all I hope we're all humans, but I
don't know. People talk to bots sometimes.
Yeah, we could have some AI listening to this, and we're not going to touch upon that here on talking about other new technology that's coming in and how that's going to affect diplomacy. But let's assume that MUN is going to stay human for the time being. And we all always like having that social connection, no matter where we are, and we'll push towards that in any way possible, no matter what type of events happen around us, if they allow it or not. We even see things, I guess we'll address it later on other pieces of technology that are coming into play and how they might interact not only with MUN, but MUN is a simulation of what's going on in the world. That is, a simulation of true, diplomatic actions.
Events that are happening right now or happened in the past.
I think
or sometimes in the future or, alternate worlds.
I'll sidetrack for a moment. I think it was a buddy of ours, I won't mention his name, that got a job in the UN. Afterwards, he said that a lot of people tell him that MUNers actually know more about what technically should be going on in the UN more than many diplomats when it comes to the rules of procedure and how things should actually be going. And a lot of their job is just, it's being a diplomat. There's a reason why you see them at every single real event or party or gathering, is you need to connect with others. It always goes back to that connection.
Yeah, falling to reflex is a great thing there.
Allow me to transition back into this beautiful conference event that's going on right now. Daniel and I, are we in the same room right now?
We're not.
No. Even though we got the same mic, we're not in the same room. We might be in the same city and same state, same country, but we're not in the same room and still connecting. And we've got people, a team really around the world working on
the World MUN Day team. Really great job to Philippe, who we've worked with for a number of years now, for you know.
Lost you there for a moment. I hope that got recorded. If you can repeat that, that would be great.
Unless it got me and didn't get you, but
Oh no, I have no idea. But it could be that you had a moment of silence, which goes back into technology, which is the beauty of it, is knowing how to address that. Maybe I should have spoken.
I hope my face wasn't weird when it froze.
Okay, there you go. But accepting that. And if you didn't hear Daniel, then I'll say it again. It's the team's been amazing. If it's been Philippe that we've been working with, or others that have helped put this together, or other speakers that have dedicated their time to creating
other friends in the MUN world, like Jonas from MUN and MUN Command, who we've also worked with for a while. Like, really great, providing important software services and understanding to the MUN world, and whether it's careers or youth delegates or a whole bunch of different things. There's a lot of cool stuff in the MUN world, and I'm really glad there's a day to showcase it, to focus it, to really recognize the beauty and everything that happens within this space.
Yeah, you brought up MUN Command. We'll talk about that later on, about also how that's going to connect back, in my eyes, to my thoughts about what's to come in MUN as a whole. But we talked about our global reach and the networking abilities. We've got other different ways of connecting with others around the world. It's still amazing and mind-boggling, the types of things we pull off during these crazy times. History has its way of repeating itself. If it's not this, current events, it will be a different type of event, which is going to, make us think outside the box and connect with others.
I think also it's really amazing to recognize just the value of MUN and World MUN Day. Like the secretary.
And there Daniel, you froze again. So this time up, and you're back.
Yeah, so I was saying that on the subject of the UN and like recognizing the work that goes into this, the Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, wrote a letter to Philippe about World MUN Day, which is published on the website. So really amazing to see the things that happen and being part of that. I will say that while there is no substitute to in-person interaction, I think that I feel that what we have here is something different, something in parallel, and it also creates incredible skills. When you have a MUN delegate reading a resolution, copying the text, like first of all, Googling it in real time, translating it to their mother tongue to get over the bumpy words, and being able to do that. These are skills useful in a workplace. Video literacy, making sure you can be heard through the microphone that David and I both have, decent lighting. MUN Online in many ways brings workplace skills for the present world, not even the future, for now, that you don't get to practice in other places. You don't get to practice when you're doing calculus or other algebra.
Yeah, and it gives also the stage for others that may not shine always in person, may not have that bright, may have that stage fright to stand up with others and speak in front of 200 people. But when you're online, we could be talking in front of 200 people or one person, can't tell the difference. And lucky me, I get to sit down on my nice, comfortable chair.
I can, look away from my screen and talk, and it doesn't matter who's listening.
Yeah.
Like we don't know who's listening to us right now. Like, hi, everybody.
Hello. For all I know, you're streaming this directly to our Facebook page. But it's really it's cool to see those other people shine, and you get to see other sides of people that may shine in person, or maybe they were more how can I put this, more forceful with their words and their actions, and they got away with it in person, while online translating that could be perceived as something else if you're too forceful, or if you're too adamant on getting some sort of point across. And which kind of almost leads me into my thoughts of the future, because now that everything's recorded, we can analyze we can analyze who's talking more, who's actually, and the tonality, and do I have an aggressive tone, or more friendly? What type of words are they, positive or negative, to help give us insight, not only to the people as a whole, but how we can better ourselves. Because one of the beautiful things about MUN, I think you taught me this most in the beginning of my MUN career.
When sure what this is, but I'm glad that
when we were teaching chairing in conferences in Turkey together, you said one of the most important things is really the feedback on how they can improve, because that's a key thing. It's not, we're not here just to say, oh, cool, let's have fun. No, it's how do we learn from it? How do we get better? And how do we improve? And sometimes the chairs don't have the skill set nor guidance to give them the right insight to help each and every delegate improve more, and kind of leans me into new pieces of technology that are going to go into not only in-person conferences, but especially online conferences, to give tools to the chairs and delegates real time to say, here's what's going on. Here's how you can improve that. We're already seeing this in the world of business and AI, where they analyze your emails and your tonality on your conference calls, or your spelling and grammar. Everyone knows Grammarly. It starts showing you, whoa, is this business-like? Is this friendly-like? Is this formal or informal? Yeah, and we're going to start seeing that being implemented into our new MUN software and technology. And that's why I'm going to kind of just hint that if it's MUN Command or others, you've got the version 1.0 that just gives you the information of overseeing who's speaking and when they're speaking, but the version 2 or 3.0 of the MUN software. And that's what I love about what's going on in MUN, the teams behind it, the type of work they put into it, to really elevate not only the experience, but the ease of use to build an effective conference that can really give also insight into how can we improve as chairs, how can we improve as organizers, how can we improve as delegates.
I want to echo the idea you bring there about, like, for chairs improving, because for us in MUN, when we do enough MUN, we start to have, the image of the perfect conference, the lunch from here, the short opening ceremony from that one, the good weather, the socials from here. And we also put together, the worst conference with the longest lunch line, the chair who didn't see us, and so on and so forth. But for many chairs in different circuits, they don't get a chance to sometimes understand what these practices are. And we have gone as staff to conferences in different countries where things we thought were given weren't even done. I want to look through the list of our like some of the chairing resources to give an idea. We have our guide of how to chair, which also includes what you talked about, which is giving feedback. Very important in life. We don't have people watching us for 3 days straight, everything we do to give this type of analysis without it being at least creepy. And here in Model UN, you have people really looking at how you, like you said, influence friends and, you know, meet people, which is incredible. So giving feedback from the chairs is so important, but some chairs don't know how to do that because their chair didn't show it, because their teacher may not have known about it. So it's part of our chairing guide is very much about how to give feedback to delegates. And for conferences I've run, I always made sure there's like a half hour of giving feedback at the end so people can learn and improve, because we don't know, you know, we can only get so far. And when a chair brings their feedback, it's like just so helpful and makes such a difference. Also, some other things like building a good relationship with your chair. This is something that delegates may not necessarily think about initially, but there are things to do and not to do. Be in your committee on time, you know, have decorum. And another thing which we wrote, this one was one of the articles that Philippe helped us with, was MUN chairing script and phrases. Like, you know, welcome committee is now in order. All of that is like documented beat by beat for chairs who aren't sure what to say. So there are so many different resources that, you know, can be globally accessible to really make a difference for MUN participants. And this is not in any way a given. This was not something that was as available online when we started MUN. And it's something which has really changed as far as the availability, the practices, the norms, the ability to get things out there. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, you talked about chair script. I remember chair scripts and the types of chairs, the certain types of guides that we wrote, and that's the beauty of MUN. And also what we're trying to do is we're trying to teach even the meta of MUN. You can always take it as, okay, the chair is this and this is exactly what they do. Even our chair scripts, we give different types of versions, but those versions are what we like to think of the gold standard. And I remember, again, with you, we had the pleasure of traveling pretty much around the world to do MUN together. And I think we were in Germany at the time, you know, in Hamburg at a HAMUN, I can't remember what year. And there were one or two things that were just like a little bit different that they taught over there. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. And then we went back and actually amended and added different ways of looking at it. It's not about one way. This is the way. I remember when I was doing chairing an MUN in India, and I had how big was the room? Probably 400, if I recall correctly. It was in the hundreds of delegates. And another chair over there was explaining about how this is how we do it in India. Because that's how they did it. And I came there with a different approach to take it. There is no, I think the right saying is, there's no one way of skinning a cat. There's no one way of doing MUN. There is the guides and rules that we need to abide by, and you know, we do our best to educate them. And it goes back to, one might ask, what does that have to do with the new era of MUN? The new era is the type of information even if you look back at our parents, the amount of information that they consumed growing up, we probably consumed that in a month. You know, the type of information that they might consume in a year at our age, like, you know, a gazillion years ago. Yes, I just called my parents a gazillion years old. But, you know, this is how it's going. And we're part of the evolution of MUN just by creating and making that information available to all. It's sort of like, I remember watching a YouTube video just the other day about, can we teleport from point A to point B? And part of the problem was, once you look at the molecule molecule acts and reacts to you looking at it. And once you looked at it, actually, you can't determine exactly what it's going to do or whatever it may be. It might act differently. So once we give that information out to the world, MUN has changed. Once people know about the meta, in some ways, that's what we're doing. We're opening up the books. You don't have to travel the world or pay trainers a gazillion dollars to actually know the information. Of course, getting training, there is no substitute for it because we're just there giving the textbook, just like you can buy a textbook for 10 bucks. It doesn't mean that you're going to get the full course. And that's what's changing, where I think that we're going to see a lot more online prep for in-person MUN in order to really get the full experience and get the best bang for your buck, for the effort that you're putting into, because travel has changed, if we like it or not, at least for the coming years.
Conferences like we don't all have to go in person. We can do a video call instead of like flying between these countries to meet up in a certain place.
Yeah, you talked about video call. I think that we're going to start seeing hybrid ones. Now, what does that mean, a hybrid? And I know that you personally actually ran a hybrid MUN not so long ago. But I think that things, especially like crisis, you're going to be able to have a team even around the world of 10 or 20 or even 30 people running the different backroom simulations and what's actually going on with the right programs. And that's where MUN Command kind of comes into play. I don't mean to pick on them as the future of MUN technology, but right now they're the ones that are in the running game, of building that platform to facilitate the real true hybrids where team A and team B can properly communicate in an effective manner for the MUN unique demand.
I think a bit on the hybrid point, as you're saying, having been part of running crisis online, and the considerations is that there really is a lot of potential. There are also some significant bumps. I can say that for one of the crisis scenarios, we had staff from 3 other countries who were working as backroom. But because the conference was mixed with like international participants and a local group, we found that people needed to continue being updated as to what was going on by things that were being verbally exchanged. Now, I think it's very cool to see the mixes, and I've also seen committees where some of the delegates on Zoom or some are in person in the same room, and it definitely has its challenges. Specifically, it's like aiming the camera at the speaker. How do you cooperate? So I do feel that these challenges can be overcome. Some of them really get down to the details. So we need to get to the details of how to fix them, how to keep an international crisis staff involved. And I think that as they are overcome, the opportunities will become much greater, because the people we connected during this crisis would not have been able to meet in person. You couldn't travel between countries at the time. So the only way that they could meet, first of all, with an incredible, team meetings have happened online, prior to the past 2 years. We've coordinated conferences over, different forms of video chat for a while, but you were always only coordinating with people, or 90-something% of the time, who you were going to meet in person at the conference, which limited the pool of people available. And to have research teams from different countries who knew they might not meet in person suddenly expanded the cooperativity of who could be involved, what they can do, which was really, really cool to have. And to have people who, because they weren't there in person, were able to dedicate fully to writing press releases and other scenarios, really opened up the option for the creative crisis director, MUN manager, to combine hybrid opportunities, have people come to conferences who would not be able to make it, whether because borders aren't open or because they just want to work together. And now there's a way to do so, which was built, which wasn't available before.
Yeah, you're talking about a beautiful challenge of international hybrids as well as international standards. And, it reminds me again about another type of MUN that we unfortunately we didn't do, but we did plan, which was MUN on a boat with I believe it was with our buddy Ali back in the day, that we were planning it all out. And just like boats have a national flag of where they came from, that is the ruling that they have if something happens on the boat, even if they went into international waters. In international waters, you still have those international rules that every boat needs to abide by. But if your boat left and is owned by someone in the United States, then even in international waters, I believe, the drinking age still stays the same based off, wherever it came from. And I believe that we're going to start seeing that more in MUN, a type of international standard where we're saying, okay, when this MUN is going international, but the lead group or the core people that either are going to meet in person or the presenter or whatever it's going to be is from that country, these are the standards we're going to take and amend the rest, which everyone in the international sphere can still understand, adapt, and work according to. And I think that's where it's going to be, an interesting challenge, but somehow we're going to have to adapt and make those changes. I'm looking forward to what's to come. I'm excited.
So on the note of excitement, I definitely agree. Are there any points about the future and adapting that you think we should still cover? Because I think we're getting towards the end of our time. I think our audience can only watch so much in one go. And I'm supposed to be giving an opening speech workshop a little bit later, which you're invited to join me for.
The main thing is the one constant in this world is change. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we think or what we say. I'm sure some of them will come to fruition, but I can guarantee you that things are going to change. Nothing stays the same. And that's life. And that's MUN. And that's everything as a whole. And that's why I'm excited to see what's to come. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for today.
Yeah, today is a very that asked me a few weeks ago, like, would there be a World MUN Day, like a day dedicated to recognizing what happens with MUN? I'd be like, that's a great idea. Would be nice if that happened. And here we are. And I also feel that the last period of time really gave people time to focus, to reflect, to appreciate the magic of MUN, both in person and online. There have been some really great online conferences that happened over a period of time. Really incredible to see delegates meeting from across the world who never would have met otherwise, and close friendships forming of people who are messaging each other on WhatsApp who would not have met without this. And that being said, yeah, the change, it's sort of, I feel, got some groups that were very comfortable with the status quo to actually need to change for the better of their students and their participants. That's really wonderful. I also want to take the time here in the end to thank the Wisemee audience and those who write in with suggestions for articles and other ideas and doing stuff. It's really, really great and rewarding to see that the work of David, myself, and our friends and writers and all the supporters is being useful. That to me is the greatest gratification of this idea of trying to make the resources we wish we had more available. And there's some really cool stuff coming. We have some interesting ideas and some great ideas for Wisemee of how to continue bringing MUN and good MUN training and really level up some things that we've done. David, you want to talk about that a little
bit? Let's say it this way. I was just going to stop you. I was saying, don't spoil it. Okay. We've been working around the clock really on some really major updates that are going to be rolling out. We're going to be dripping them, throughout the coming months. So stay tuned. It's all about giving back. It's nothing changes overnight, which kind of goes back to the new era, and which kind of goes back to, like, the constant change. Nothing happens overnight, but hopefully in the coming months we're going to start seeing some big upgrades to our content and a lot more. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great World MUN Day. We're really excited to have been here and able to take part, and we support, like, more MUN is great. This is really a life-changing activity for skills, for friends, for opportunities. I think both of us would not be who we are without, MUN and what it offers. And may continue being a beautiful and magical place. It gives David and I a reason to hang out right now and, just talk and whatever. Talking whatever. Not something I'd give it an opening speech. That is not, something I'd ever vouch for.
That was a good closing speech there.
Yeah, honorable chair, distinguished delegates. Yeah, whatever. All right. So on that note,
check us out. Wisemee.com.
Wisemee.com, and we'll see you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.